Well, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Meet the Author. Today, I have Jessica Peterson here with me. Jessica, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This is truly like such an honor and a pleasure. I love any and all excuses to do things. I work from my house. I obviously like spend my days with fictional characters. So it is really a treat to talk to some real live human beings. So thank you again for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to chat with you today. I always like to open up these with kind of a very easy icebreaker type question just to get us into this. So, my question today is, do you consider yourself more of a vanilla or chocolate person?
Oh, great question. Totally chocolate. I actually just had some chocolate covered espresso beans after lunch to kind of get me through the rest of the afternoon. Everybody in my house is sick. It has been a time. So I feel like the combination of chocolate and caffeine is just chef's kiss. What about you? Chocolate or vanilla?
I am more of a vanilla person. I like chocolate for like chocolate covered strawberries, things like that. But when it
Mhm.
comes to like cakes or ice creams, I usually fall more towards vanilla.
Got it. Oh, I mean, I love like a vanilla cake. Nothing beats that with some like good buttercream frosting. Like, I'm with you. I get it. So, really, can I say both?
Plenty of people have said both. So
Great,
I've
great.
had people that, since they're romance authors, they're like, I like, chocolate, but or vanilla, but not vanilla in the bedroom, other
I was
things.
about
So
to say the vanilla has some connotations, especially like I write spicier romance. So I would say my books are not vanilla, but I love like vanilla the flavor. So totally get it.
no, it's great. It's great. Well, again, just thank you so much for jumping on today. For anyone who maybe has not stumbled upon any of your books, this is their first introduction to you. Kind of just say, hey, I'm Jessica, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure thing. So, hey, I'm Jessica. I um, into I would say like a brand or a niche where I write spicy southern small town. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. I dream of splitting my time between Asheville and Charleston like one day. Um, but I just love to write kind of feely, fun, and very spicy small town romances. I love guys with Southern accents. I love to write about food, drinks, quirky side characters, all of those, fun kind of Southern small towny things. And I am planning to release 4 books this year. We just released the last book in my Harbour Village series, which I would pitch as like um, a spicy The Notebook, Nicholas Sparks. Set on a tiny island off the coast of North Carolina. I wanted to do something beachy and different. And then the next 2 books, knock on wood, that I'm hoping to release in the back half of this year are going to be cowboy romances set in Texas. So it's kind of turned out like the South has kind of turned out to be a really great place. I mean, there's a wealth of settings and characters and material for me to use, and I'm just like so happy I kind of stumbled into it.
As a girl from Texas, I live in Oklahoma now, but that's still technically, the South. So,
Yeah.
as a girl from Texas, I'm ready. I'm all about the cowboy romances.
So I have to ask you, I feel like cowboys are everywhere. And obviously, Elsie Silver is a big reason for that. We have like Lila Sage done and dusted. But why do you think cowboys hit so hard? Like, I feel like when I tell people I'm writing Cowboys next, everybody's so excited. And I'm like, I love it too. Like, I'm writing it right now and I'm like, oh, okay, I know why I love cowboys, but why do you love cowboys?
In like books, I think it just encompasses like cowboys in real life. Most of the time, they're like very hard workers, but so they're like built and they're working on the land and stuff like that. But they're all usually they're like some type of mama's boy, so they're like raised and they respect women, and they can
Government
be
in the streets. Yes.
spicy and stuff like that, but they're like true Southern gentlemen usually. And so they like, know how to respect people. They'll take the hats off for things. They're opening the doors, doing all that stuff. So I don't know. I just always feel like too when you go to places like Fort Worth, they have like stockyards and all those other places, or even other places too. But you just like walk around and like those are the people that stand out versus other men just because like they just have a way about themselves that they just like how they
Right.
carry themselves too. They're very confident.
Ooh, I love that thought. Okay, I'll have to incorporate that. But yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. There's something about a man with like rough hands, but like who knows how to use those hands and like perhaps a different way, or a softer way. And I also love the idea, kind of like you were saying, gentleman in the streets, but he can be a total freak in the sheets. And just kind of like, the thing about small town romance, I read this great quote, like, why do people love small town romance? And it said essentially people want like less stress and more community. And nothing, encompasses that more than a small town or, world of a working cattle ranch. So it's been really fun to work on so far. And I've been surprised by like, the cowboy thing. I thought, okay, for a while it was vampires for a while. We had the romantasy is still huge, but for around. So, my publicist and I, when we were brainstorming, okay, what do I want to write next? She's like, you got to do cowboys. Like
You know,
they're having a moment and going on and on and on.
it comes in generations. You think like grandparents, they love westerns for a reason. So
Yes.
I know my great grandma, like growing up, if I ever went over to her house, there was always a western on, always for a
Isn't
reason.
that funny? Right, isn't that funny? Like, and my husband is really into, like, the classics, like, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. I'm like, "No, Legends of the Fall, Yellowstone, anything with Brad Pitt in it, really, or Kevin Costner." So, and I mean, I think it's also interesting, I have watched Yellowstone, that just kind of, like, swept everybody into the thing. Like it was such a cool modern take on our, or it kind of blew up our conception of what a Western could be. And, like in a way, Yellowstone is kind of like Sopranos meets Cowboys. And I don't know, it was just very satisfying to watch and also just love, like you said, like the ruggedness of the Cowboys, how they are hard workers, but then also tip their hats and open something special about that in this day and age. I think that, a lot of us gals are missing.
I think, like I said, I think the cowboy stuff nails it. And so I'm very excited for that. But with your
Good.
recent series, so obviously we just wrapped it up in a pretty little bow. If anyone who has like not heard of this series has not picked it up yet, it's 3 books. Kind of give us an overview of what you can expect. Obviously, like it's a series, but you can like they're standalones. Like you don't have to read them all in order, but you get to see the characters if you do it that way. Kind of walk us through what we can expect going back, to North Carolina for a minute.
For a minute, just for a minute. So yeah, like I was saying, I conceptualized this series as a spicy take on the Notebook. I wanted to do something beachy. I wanted to do something, and Bald Head Island. It's this tiny, tiny island off the coast of North Carolina, accessible only by boat. Cars are not allowed on the island. It's just golf carts and bicycles. It's remote. It's beautiful, and it's kind of like know about it, know how to get there, how to rent or buy a property there. And so I knew that was a special place. I have been many times and I have wanted to set a series there for a while. And we just came up with this concept of like, notebook, you know, there's the rich girl and the poor boy, and they're torn apart by circumstances and then reunited by later. And we threw in just like a wedding because who doesn't love weddings? And essentially the setup for here, I have the book right here, the first book, I Wish I Knew Then.
Beautiful. Love
um
it.
Thank
Stunning.
you. I love the covers too. But essentially, like the heroine returns to Bald Head Island for the first time in 10 years since, this guy broke her heart at 18 and fell off the face of the earth. She comes back to Bald Head for her best friend's shotgun wedding. Her best friend gets knocked up and is like, okay, we're going to get married like next week. You come. And guess who's the best man? The guy who disappeared on her 10 years ago. And so it was just like a really fun setup. And again, like the setting is a character in and of itself. Just like the beach, the small town, the quirky side characters, the weather, I mean, it was just so fun to write. So yeah, so this book is this series is 3 books total. I will show you guys the spines. It
All
is a
stuff.
series, but I thank you. But I write all of my books as standalones, like they're interconnected for sure. But what I have noticed, especially with book 3, it's a marriage of convenience book, which people seem to be really into. And what
That's a
I'm
very
finding is
popular thing right now is like cowboys is out there, but also like fake marriage or marriage of convenience. Those hit every single time. Fake dating.
those hit every yes, exactly, like the my wife moments. And I have to say, like the reels and posts and TikToks we have done with the my wife quotes, like don't disrespect my wife that way, or you're my wife, you're gonna wear, my a real diamond ring. Those are the ones that do the best. Like people freaking, love it. And I totally understand it. But anyways, long story short, what I'm finding is people are diving in 3 back to book 1 and 2, which is a totally kosher way of doing it. You'll definitely, I think I enjoy up in subsequent books, but if you're not a stickler for reading things in order, you can absolutely read them in any order depending on, what your trope du jour is, what you're into. So yeah, that's kind of the quick and dirty on the Harbor Village series. I'm so honestly, I wish I had planned for more. It's just been such a fun world to kind of, inhabit and build out with all of these, fun different characters. And it doesn't hurt that we have a lot of, heroes who are surfing shirtless often.
Not at all. And
Hates that.
I think the most recent book, that was my like introduction to the series was I Wish We Had Forever. And I've same thing with the TikToks. The amount of love that I've been seeing that these characters have been getting, but specifically Abel has been getting, all the my wife moments and everything. How has that response been for you that like people are latching on to specific characters so much? And then obviously like when they love the series, then they go back and then they can see like Jen's brothers, the book before, and then that's like Nanny. Everyone loves Nanny too. Like single dad
Nanny,
Nanny.
single dad. Let's throw in an accidental pregnancy, which is my favorite trope. So yeah, like all of these books hold a special place in my heart. But honestly, with book 3, it has been the most pleasant surprise to hear how much people are enjoying it. Because as I was writing it, it is the first marriage of convenience I've ever done. I've done fake dating before, but this is the first time where I'm doing like a my wife,
Mm-hmm.
type of through line throughout the plot. Kind of like struggling. Are people going to buy this? Like, really, in a contemporary, what reason would 2 intelligent characters have to fake a marriage? I think in historic all day long. You know what I mean? Like, that's just the way things were back then. But, in contemporaries, it's like you got to make that reason believable. You have to make it hefty enough also to kind of carry these characters through an 80 or 90,000 word book. And so writing, I had so much author doubt. I was like, I don't know if this one is going to fly or not. And then I sent it to my betas first few, and everybody unanimously was like, this is my favorite book of the series. Like, freaking love Abel. I don't think it hurts that it's also the spiciest.
Very
There's,
spicy.
like,
Very
yes,
spicy.
there's some scene, a scene with, creative use of tequila, as we're calling it. There's some crawling and just things I've never really done before, like toys are friends, not foes. And so I didn't intentionally set out to, write my spiciest book ever, but just
But they
able,
love
I mean, right, and just Abel was kind of the perfect person for it because I feel like he's broody and broken, but he's been holding a torch for his best friend's little sister for 10 years, and so I knew when he finally allowed himself to step over the line that the chemistry was going to explode, and it really did. So those parts were really fun, but yes, it has been the most pleasant surprise to see how much people are enjoying Jen, and then especially Abel, because he was a tough one to get right, but I ended up loving him, and I hope you guys do too.
I think it's safe to say that a lot of people have, and it's always fun when it's like obviously like she is a spicy like FMC too, like love her. But it's when people just like attach, to like Abel again. You have those people that they just find those characters and they're like, oh, this is my new favorite book boyfriend. Now I love you forever. It's like
Yes, writing workshop at a conference many, many years ago. It was led by Elizabeth Hoyt, who is one of my all-time authors. And her whole premise for the workshop was, you, out of all the things you can do in your romance novel, the most important thing is you got to nail your hero. Like, the hero is the glue that holds it all together. It's the thing that, is going to draw readers in. And it is just, the heroine in, I think, romances, obviously we're centering female pleasure, female experience, female, um, just internal worlds. Um, but the hero has to be the perfect foil for her, right? Like, he has to bring out the best in her. And so, if you get your hero right, you're going to get your book right. So I don't, disagree with what you're saying in terms of like, the book boyfriend thing is real. And if you get people to connect with your hero in a memorable way, you enjoy the book. That is, what I have found so far in my career. So totally agree with what you're saying.
I love that. I think that's great advice that, that you had that in a workshop, but that you can, if anyone listening can hear that too, if they're thinking about writing or something like that. Going into more of the writing side of stuff, what is your typical process looking like? You're like, okay, you just said for the series, you plotted out, you wanted 3 books. Then you're like, maybe I should have done more. But what is that process like? That's like, okay, I want this series. I want this many books. Now, how do you go and you put it all together and you accomplish it?
Oh, so I have a lot of help. I have to say that up front. I notice the more I open up my process, because my temptation always is, it's kind of like, I want to do everything myself. I'm embarrassed to like share my ideas and until it's totally done and I feel like it's perfect. But what I have discovered is the more I open up my process to, friends and, people I work with, the more ideas I can get, the better my writing becomes. And so basically what I do now is I strategize with my publicist. She's awesome, Nina with Valentine PR. She knows everybody, has read every book, knows every trope, like just, and knows what's hot, what books are coming that she thinks are going to be hot. And so essentially we will sit down and we'll be like, okay, we want to do cowboys next. All right, we wish, Harbor Village was longer. Let's plan for 5 books. Okay, 5 books are going to follow 5 brothers. What are the tropes for book 1, book 2, book 3, book 4? And here's our concept for the covers. Here's what, when we would like to release them. And so we come up with a bigger picture kind of um, uh, series Bible, and then also a marketing plan. And then I get to writing. And basically my process is I follow Stephen King's method, and I do, between 2 and 3,000 words a day. Right now, I'm really trying to get 3,000 words a day. I try to get that done in the morning because that requires the most brain power. I feel like it's just like writing is never easy. I'm a very slow writer. Um, Afternoons, I do this kind of thing, emails, social media, all of that stuff. And right now it's taking me about 6 weeks to finish a first draft. My first drafts are typically somewhat clean. And then we do another 6 weeks of edits. We'll do, content edits, copy edits, proofreading, and then, we get ready for release. So it's fast and it's furious. Um, you know, that's just the way the romance world, especially the indie romance world, works. But I have to say, I really, really love it. And I just, trying different things with every new book is, keeps it fresh and exciting.
I think that's awesome. And I give all of the credit to romance authors, but especially again, like indie romance authors. Y'all put out so many books so fast. And I don't know
Crazy.
how you do it.
I mean, I look at, I really admire somebody like Laura Pavlov or Devney
I don't know how she does that either.
literally release 5 books a year, like 580 or 90,000 books a year. They will also, be very present on social media. They'll be at every signing. And I'm like, you guys, I want to be you when I grow up. Like, give me some of your energy. And I have met Devney. She is such a lovely, lovely person, and just a super hard worker and also an incredible writer. So I'm kind of like, I see them and I am very inspired. But yeah, it is definitely, I get asked all the time. I'm like, well, do you do this full time? I'm like, yes, I'm releasing 4 books this year. I write, market, run my own business full time. It is definitely a quite an undertaking, but it's a total dream job. So no complaints here.
No, I think it's so awesome. Again, you just listed, great examples: Laura, Devney, Catherine Cowles. There's so many of them that, I think I've talked to all of them, and I've learned that their secret is, which is crazy to me, again, which you probably have, this inkling or too, is they're like always 2 to 3 books ahead. So, it's like crazy to me too. Every time I talk to Laura, she's like having to remind herself what we're talking about, the book that just came out, because she's like already done like the
Yes.
third book down. I'm like, how do you do
And
that?
that's when you know you're talking to a true professional. Because essentially now what I'm trying to do is same thing. You get a book ahead so you can do like a simultaneous audiobook, paperback, and ebook release. That way you're
Mhm.
hitting, every possible reader you can. And, I am a recent convert to audiobooks and I didn't get it until I started listening to romance audiobooks and I'm like, I am obsessed. I am addicted. I totally get why people would wait for the audiobook to come out. But, from a business perspective, you definitely, the simultaneous releases are where it's at. But that means you do have 3 or 4 months ahead, which in the indie world usually means being 1, 2, 3 books ahead.
Mhm.
So, once you can hit that pace and that structure, you know, sky's the limit, which is, one of the many cool things, about being a writer in this day and age. So yeah, a lot of respect for those ladies. I'm taking notes and trying to keep up.
That's awesome that have found your love for audiobooks too. Same thing with me. I used to always be someone that was like, I'm never going to be an audiobook person. Like, I need to have my physical copies. Like, obviously, I
Me
still have
too. Me
a lot
too.
of those behind me, but audiobooks is
Same.
how I like live now, because you
Yes.
get, as you get older, you don't have time to sit and just read all the time. And I have this thing, I don't feel like a ton of people do. I've posted a TikTok about it before, but I get reader's guilt. So if I sit for too long, like I can only sit for like 30 to 45 minutes in the morning and like read without feeling bad. And then it's like I have to do other things, even if it's my days off from work.
Yes.
Go to the grocery store. I could go be working out right now. I need to clean the house. I can do laundry. I could do all these other things. But if you have an audiobook, you still can.
You can still do those things, and it makes those things so much less painful. Like, I, got to proof the audiobook for I Wish I Knew Then, which came out yesterday. It's narrated by Charlotte North and Austin Stone, but I was able to proof it on my ride to and from Charleston. It's a 3-hour drive each way, for the Sweetgrass signing. And oh my God, I have to say I have never wanted a drive to last longer in my life, but I did with those drives because I'm like, this is so good. This drive went by in a flash. Like, it just audiobooks make life better. And I got it. Like, it really clicked with me. And I have young children, so I feel like I can't necessarily pop my earbuds in when I'm doing chores because I usually have them around me. But when I do get a second, like I take a lot of, walks with my dog, I'm like, this stuff. Like, it is so good. The narrators just bring a whole different dimension to the story. Um, and yeah, I think it's just pure magic.
What is it like? Obviously, you are the author, you wrote this story, but what is it like? I always think it's interesting how different answers always vary with this question. But when you get to hear your audiobook back for the first time, it's like, okay, you wrote this story, but you're having other people narrate it. So it's like slightly different in your brain. What is that like for you?
It's really weird at first. I'm going to be totally honest because it's kind of like, okay, in a way, my interior world, like that I put on the page. So they're very personal, they're very intimate. It's an intimate glimpse into Jessica Peterson's brain, right? And so it's kind of like when I first started to proof my audiobooks, there was this moment where I'm like, it would make my stomach like, oh gosh, like, what are people going to think? What are the narrators thinking as they're reading this? And then I feel like at some point you kind of like get lost in the story and that like stomachache goes away and you end up just getting butterflies. Like, it is really like the coolest thing. And I can only imagine, like, I dream about like, Julia Quinn on the set of Bridgerton. Like, that must, I think I would just cry the whole time, like happy tears just to see your work, your stories brought to life in such like a passionate, beautifully crafted way. And, to be able to work with top tier with incredible respect is just the best thing ever. I actually, just got tagged in a post on Instagram by the narrator, for I Wish I Knew Then, and I'm just kind of like, this is the coolest thing. Like, he's another artist, like absolutely slaying it out there, and I just like love being part of that community. So it is a really cool thing. It's a really weird thing. Like I like Jason Clark at Indies Invade Philly. He narrated some of the books I have in the background. And like I kind of was starstruck, but also I'm like, you have read some of the dirtiest things I've ever written. Like you said those words out loud, and now you know what a perv I am. And I know like you nailed that part, like, the sexting part. So you're like, you did the pervy stuff great. Like, are you a perv too? Like, I don't know. I mean, it was definitely a moment where I'm like, what must this guy think of me? But at the same time, he just had nothing but wonderful things to say about my books, my writing, and all of that stuff, and his experience recording those books. So yeah, it's really cool. It's really weird, but I absolutely love it. Wouldn't change anything about the audiobooks that I've done so far.
That's so awesome. And again, I think it's so cool. And it's always fun to ask that because I've had some people that are like, oh, I won't listen to them. Like, it's too weird for me. Like,
Yes,
I don't want to
exactly. It's
listen to
really
it.
weird
I
to be in the right mind space.
have a friend that like won't listen to them because she's like, then I want to go back and like rewrite the book because I don't like how it sounds out loud. So I just like
That's
don't let myself.
exactly right. And you also notice, now that I'm writing, I think about the audiobook and I leave off dialogue tags, like much prose here. We need a little more dialogue to break it up, like, because the audiobook is just going to kind of, you know, drone on a little bit here. So yeah, it definitely, has changed my writing, hopefully for the better. But I just think, kind of like you're saying, the proportion of audiobook readers to ebook and paperback readers, I think the audiobook portion is just growing and growing at this point. And so it's important to be, involved in that market and, to know who the top or the favorite narrators are, to know who, can do a great Southern accent or who, does the spicy scenes really well. So yeah, it's a really, really cool thing.
That's so awesome. And when you're not, obviously, we've talked a lot about your writing and your books, but you're also a human being outside of being an author. And that's, I think, what a lot of people forget sometimes. So, what's one of your
Yes.
favorite things to do when it's not like, okay, I'm not in full work mode, I'm not writing? When you have time to yourself, what's one of your favorite things to do?
Oh, great question. I love to eat. I love to cook. I love to play tennis. I love to hang with my friends. A couple gals on my street and we play mahjong a lot together. And then I have two young kids, a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old. So we spend a lot of time at the park playing magnet tiles. Right now they're really into princess things, so we do like a lot of so yeah, so life is really I feel like I'm in a very busy season, but it's all really great stuff. I actually just got back from a beach vacation with my family to Hilton Head Island, and I got to tell you, being on the beach with a book, like I'm such a huge reader at heart. Like I was a romance reader before I was ever a writer, and there's just that pleasure. I think that might be my favorite thing to do is read, and then preferably on a beach, preferably, with a cocktail in hand. Um, so yeah, again, like I have young children, so I feel like I used to travel a lot. I used to, get out a lot more. So life is kind of, I wouldn't say super interesting, but like it's all good stuff. And just doing the juggle.
That's awesome. I totally agree with the whole like having a book on the beach type thing. When I go on my honeymoon later on this year, my husband at the then fiance now will probably be like really tired.
Congratulations, by the way.
You know? He's like a water person, but like if I'm on the beach like with a book, he's like snorkeling or something, but he can't sit still for very long.
Yes,
Versus
that's how my husband is too.
let me have my book on the beach and I'm good all day. Don't bother me. And he will not be like that. So I know on a honeymoon that won't work out well because he's gonna be like, we have to do something else. I have
Exactly.
work.
He's gonna be like, "Come okay, an hour, and then I'm gonna read for 4 hours." Okay, that's our deal. Where are you guys going on your honeymoon?
I have no idea, but I know that he likes to do more beachy things. So that's hopefully the goal is we'll go somewhere. We went on a family vacation like right after we got engaged last year with his family to Anna Maria Island in Florida. And that was
Oh, how
really fun.
nice.
It was nice because like he could get in the water and like his older brother and his dad would go do it with him. And then
And
me and
they
his
have, yes, each other.
mother-in-law were just like hanging out on the beach with our books and we were good.
I miss that so much because my family, like my brother and my sister, we all have young children. We had 5 kids under the age of 5 in the house, and it was just chaos. And we thought about those times when we were engaged or just getting married and nobody had kids yet, where we would do the beach vacations, and it was like, should we get drunk at lunch? Should we read a book? Like it is just such a delight. So please, I'm living vicariously through you. Like enjoy, enjoy every minute. And I just remember also like I loved being engaged. I thought it was like such a fun time of anticipating or not, but it is stressful to plan a wedding, but it's also, I don't know, such a wonderful time.
I am, and it's definitely, it's fun, but putting all the pieces together in your brain to like make it come to life. I'm enjoying it. So ask me, a little bit closer to my wedding how I'm feeling, and I probably won't
I
feel like
know.
that. At this point in time, I do feel good about it. It's definitely been fun. So I'm trying to soak it all in because it's a very short season of your life. So I'm trying to enjoy all the
That's
moments.
exactly right, and then it's all over, in a couple hours. It goes by, like, so, so quickly, and then, hopefully the next morning you'll be, like, on a plane off to your honeymoon, so you have something to look to. But yeah, the wedding season, it's again, like, it's a very, like, intense, busy season, but it is, like, a really special time, so congratulations again, or best wishes, I should say. I feel like I remember my wedding planner telling me, "You're not supposed to say congratulations until after the wedding. It's best wishes." For engaged couples. I don't know if you've heard that or not.
I've
That
never
could be
heard that,
totally
but
wrong.
I will take the wishes. I think that's awesome. I
Right.
maybe should start telling friends too instead. I have a few friends that are engaged. Maybe I'll start telling that and be like, no, we can't.
Best
We can't.
wishes,
We just have to start doing
best
best
wishes.
wishes.
So are you getting married in Oklahoma or Texas or
Oklahoma.
okay, nice.
Very, very excited. It's just easier for me to plan and do things where I
Oh,
live.
100%. I, got married in Charleston, which is, again, 3 hours away, and I'm like, "Oh, that's manageable. I could hop down there when it was not manageable." Should have done it a little closer, but it did turn out to be, such a dream of a wedding, so, no complaints there.
I love that. Love that so, so much. And again, the wedding, tying it all back in, we have your most recent book. Again, fake wedding, fake marriage. So
You're doing
good.
so great with this, by the way. Thank you for reining me in. I feel like back to the books. I appreciate it.
No, you're good. You're good. So if people are like, okay, I love her. I need to read a really spicy book. I love me a fake marriage, a marriage of convenience. Where can everyone go find A, first off, your books best, and then B, where can they get in touch with you best through like socials and things like that?
Love that question. So my books are in Kindle Unlimited, so you can buy them ebook and paperback on Amazon. Like I said, we're releasing slowly the audiobooks for the Harbor Village series, but those are also available on Amazon Audible. And then I would say I'm the most active on Instagram. You could find me at Jessica P. Author. I post a little bit of everything, a little bit of, well, a little bit of real life, some stuff that inspires me, things I think that are funny, mom life, author life, romance reader life, that kind of stuff. But yes, Instagram, and then also I have a reader group on Facebook called Jessica Peterson City Girls. We do a lot of fun things in there. I'll do live streams, for releases. We do giveaways, all of that good stuff. So yeah, but please come say hi. I love to meet people. I've also started to do signings in the past year and a half now that I'm not having babies and nursing them anymore. So I would love to hug you guys and say hello. And I don't know if you're going to any signings next year or the rest of this year, but I would love to squeeze you too, Michaela.
I cannot this year because my PTO is so limited with all wedding stuff, but I have
With
so
your
many
wedding
like
stuff.
fingers crossed that I get to hopefully do next year. So that is my goal is to actually be able to make it to signings next year because I've always wanted to do that.
It is really fun. Like I went to my first year Indies in Bay Philly, and I'm like legitimately addicted. And obviously, like with everything going on right now, like not all signings are created equal, but the ones that I have been to have been absolute magic. And so yeah, next year I'm planning to do several signings, and it's just so like meet people and like people that you have met on Instagram or through something like this, and then to actually like meet them in person and get to hang out with them. It's really I have found like the bookish community and the people I have met to be just absolutely wonderful.
Love this community. Everyone is literally the sweetest and the best. So totally agree with
Right.
that. meet people in person. Is there anything else that I haven't asked you today that maybe you want to touch on really fast, or anything you want to say to readers really fast before we wrap up?
Oh my goodness. Another great question. Well, I mean, kind of like I was saying to you, genre, as a reader first, I will always be, a romance reader at heart. I got my start, stealing my mom's historical romances, and have been in love with the genre ever since. And so, I mean, I hope to be doing this for a really long time. I absolutely love it. Spicy scenes are my favorite to write. I think you might be into into my books. But yeah, just so grateful again, Michaela, to be here, to be talking about this stuff, with awesome people like you. And yeah, I just really appreciate, everyone who, is shouting their love for romance from the rooftops, because I think romance is really having a moment now, and it's not, a, a a dirty little secret anymore. Like, it is just, it's such a cool thing to have witnessed, like that transformation from, okay, the thing we hide on our Kindles, to the thing we are proudly talking about all over social media. So yeah, just super excited to be part of all of that. And again, thank you so much for having me. This was so fun.
Absolutely. I had so much blast talking with you today. And you guys be sure that you're staying up to date. Everything here happening at Michaela's Book Nook for more book reviews and author interviews and more. Until next time, thanks, guys.